What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. Today, we're talking about multifamily, wholesale, flips, a little bit of everything. Well-rounded guy that I have today on the podcast. Sam, thank you so much for coming, dude. Pleasure to have you on the podcast. Excited to have a conversation with you. You're investing in St. Louis, right? That's Missouri, if I'm correct, right?
Yep, St. Louis, Missouri. Everything we do is here in Missouri. Most of it's in St. Louis. We do have one project we're working on in Branson, which is the other side of the state, but pretty much everything is here in St. Louis.
Thanks for accepting the invite, dude. Looking forward to having a good conversation about what you're working on currently.
For sure. I'm excited.
So talk to me a little bit about yourself before we get into how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, I kind of like to just say I'm about as normal as it gets. I don't have, the rags to riches story that some of these social media people have. I didn't have to overcome a ton of craziness. I didn't, grow up in a mud hut like my buddy Kong or anything like that. I just had a normal childhood, in a normal town in the middle of the US. So, pretty normal, which I used to kind of shy away from. But the more I thought about and realized that I'm pretty normal and most people are pretty normal, hence the definition of normal. So my story is very, very relatable compared to some of those, rags to riches types of stories. Those are cool. Those are motivating. Movies can be made about them, but that's that's not realistic for most people. I grew up in the middle class, one pair of shoes a year. I went to public school. Mom was a teacher. Dad was an engineer, nothing crazy, just a normal childhood. And I've been able to do some pretty cool stuff without a silver spoon or without inheriting any money from anybody. So it should hopefully, and I believe it does, kind of shine some hope and some light for those that came from similar backgrounds.
It's interesting. What got you into real estate?
So I was just, I went to college, got a full-time job, and was just looking to do something on the side. Had an entrepreneurial itch that I kind of had been scratching in college. Me and my buddy started a painting business where we painted exteriors of homes and decks and fences. So we kind of worked for ourselves in college over the summer, and we kind of wanted to do more. The job, quote unquote, real world was fun, but we were looking to do something, and real estate seemed just to make sense. We read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which everybody kind of has. It opened our eyes a little bit. But just the odds of becoming wealthy with real estate are better than anything else. 90% of millionaires are created through real estate. The barrier of entry is extremely low. You can have low, no credit and wholesale. You can, flip. You can do a million different things in real estate. You don't have to be super techie or have any money or anything like that to actually start investing. So just the fact that the barrier of entry is so low and the fact that so many people have created wealth through it was kind of the deciding factors that just kind of leaned us to going all in.
Gotcha. And how did you get started? I imagine with wholesaling.
Actually, no, our first probably 7 to 10 deals were rental properties. So me and my business partner, who everything we're going to talk about now and get into, we own 50-50 together. The same guy that started the painting business in college together. We each had jobs, and our goal was to build long-term wealth and buy rental properties. So our first 7 or 10 deals were all rental properties. We did that on the side. We kind of used our startup business and our personal credit and W-2 bankability to buy rentals out the gate.
Yeah. Okay. So you at the time, walk me through. So your problem at the beginning that most people have is the financing, right? How to get the capital to hold those rentals, right? How do you go about that?
We use a private lender. So I didn't know about the BRRRR method and the cash out refinances when we started. So I thought you had to put 20% down on a rental property. If I was going to buy $150,000 rental, I needed to, flip a property and make 20, 40 grand and put it down. I didn't have the $20,000 to $40,000, neither did Lucas, my business partner. So our goal is to flip a property and use the profits to put 20% down. Well, during that rehab, we learned about the refinance and the BRRRR method. So we ended up finishing that rehab, taking it to a small local bank. The property appraised for $125,000. We were all in for $100,000 from our private lender who lent us the money. So we were able to do an 80% cash out refinance, pay our private lender back plus interest, and then we ended up owning that property. And that's the process that we have repeated, 300 times now.
Okay. How do you structure that partnership with your friend? Like, were there any struggles in the process of making that a partnership?
Not a ton. No, we didn't know what this would become when we started. Our goal, first goal was to buy one property a year for 10 years. So I have 10 rental properties. So we just split everything up 50-50 as far as ownership goes. There at the beginning, it was, us splitting up responsibilities as much as we could, as we tried to. So it's just kind of been a feeling out process throughout the whole thing.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That's amazing, dude. So it's just your conventional route. So you pretty much took the advice that most people don't, and you just implemented it.
Yeah, it's not hard, or I take that back. It's not complicated. It's super simple. Creating wealth, buying rental properties, getting ahead, being the quote unquote 1%. It's very simple, but it's not easy, and that's where people get caught up. They want it to be easy. They see YouTube, of TikTok, of me doing something, and they're like, "Oh, well, that was easy." Well, no, they didn't see me busting my ass the past 7 years and losing money on deals and all these kind of things that go along with it. So most people just fail once and they quit. But if you fail and you could get up and you learn, and you fail again and you get up and you learn, that's how you create wealth. That's how everybody creates wealth, from Musk to Bezos to Zuckerberg, whoever you want to call it. Every one of those people has failed more times than they can count. So most people just aren't willing to push through those failures. So if you have some perseverance and you don't give up and you're willing to learn from your mistakes, you can literally do anything. Just most people don't have that delayed gratification bone.
Yeah, I agree. I think we skipped a little over how you acquired the 7 properties at the beginning. Could you explain to me what was the process behind not knowing what you're doing and jumping in? I would like to clarify, so somebody who is trying to do what you're doing has a better understanding of how you did it, because it seemed kind of, we kind of like went over it, but we didn't actually explain, okay, I have no money and this is what I did.
Yeah, for sure. So the goal was to get, 20 to 40 grand. We didn't have it. So let's flip a house and take the profits and do that. So I knew you could borrow money from people with money, because I watch, Flip or Flop on HGTV and all those shows of, a rich friend or a lawyer or somebody giving you the money to buy a property, then split the profit. So that's generally what we did. I talked to several different people over the months prior, and finally got somebody that was willing to give us up to $100,000 as a private loan. We personally guaranteed it, that we'd give them their money back plus interest. So that's what we did. We bought a property for 70 something thousand. We fixed it up majority ourselves as much as we could, hired a few things out. And then, the goal was to put that on the market and sell it. But during that rehab process, I went to a local meetup here in St. Louis and talked to somebody, and they're like, if your goals are rentals, that one sounds like it'll work as a rental. It's in a rental area. Why don't you just do a cash out refinance? And I was like, well, what's that? He's like, you take your property to a small local bank. Here's the small local bank that I would suggest going to, and ask them to do an 80% cash out refinance. They'll send out an appraiser, and they will, give you a loan, a check as a form of a loan for up to 80% of the appraised value. So assuming you bought it at a discount because it was distressed, and assuming you added value, you can, get all, if not most of all of your money back, pay back your private lender. You owe the bank money now, but it's a mortgage, and the rent pays the bank back. So you're just kind of borrowing money. And at the end of it, the tenant's the one paying the bank back. So that's what we learned on that first one. And we just went ahead and repeated that, probably I'd say, 7 to 10 times in the first, 2.5 years.
So bird method all the way. That's amazing, dude.
All the way. I bird houses. I've bird over 150 houses. Bird 6 apartment complexes, bird 3 self-storage facilities. So yeah, you can bird any cash producing real estate asset.
How many years have you been doing this since the story started to now?
8 years.
8 years. Okay, so 8 years took you to about what are you working on in terms of business?
So right now, I have 3 main businesses. I have my rental management company. We manage our properties in house. That's our 280, 90, however many it is, rental doors, worth about 45, 46 million. Then I have the flipping company here, where we buy houses. We wholesale and flip about 300 houses a year. And then I have my education company that I teach people to invest in real estate. I have a podcast and have 2.3 million followers on social media. And I have 1,200 students that I teach how to do what I've done. So those are kind of my 3 main businesses: education, flipping, and rentals.
Amazing. So you're almost wholesaling a deal a day.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm. Last
That
year we did
is
312. This year we're probably going to end up like 220, 230. The market contracted a little bit, but yeah, we have we have 46 employees at this point, so we have a great team behind us to do all that.
okay. And the big scheme of things, what are the processes behind that wholesale process, all the way from the leads, all the way to properties under contract? What do you think stands out from your company?
Yeah, so we, of that 312 houses we bought last year, I'd say 250 of them, 230 of them around that came from just networking, not spending $1 in marketing. So we have a marketing manager. We spend $40,000-$50,000 a month in marketing to get leads, but we have 5 full-time buyers, and their job is to go build relationships with wholesalers, build relationships with real estate agents, build relationships with insurance agents and elder law attorneys, and everybody that comes across distressed properties. They're out and about in the community building relationships and building the brand. So they do that, and we send them leads, and then their entire job is to go get these deals at at a good fair price that we can turn around and wholesale them or flip them and make money, or keep them as rentals. So that's kind of our secret sauce, is our networking and our incentivization, or our incentivizing the team to do that. So we have 5 full-time buyers that it takes to get those 250, 300 houses.
That's amazing, dude. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the property management company. I'd imagine when you started investing, you didn't know that you were going to scale to the point that you are now, right? Nobody expects what point. How are the properties distributed all over? Are they all over St. Louis?
Yeah, so they're all over St. Louis. So when we got started, we each had full-time jobs. So we hired a property management company to manage, our few rentals, and didn't like that process. Nobody manages your properties like you. So we hired a part-time property manager who just got, recently had a kiddo and was looking for part-time work. So she manages the properties for us as we grew. And then eventually we kind of built out a property management company in-house, having a property manager and a maintenance tech and, all those kind of leasing agent and all those kind of things. So that has kind of grown with us. And as we've grown and needed more people, we've just hired more people. So now I think we have 6 people on our property management team. We manage just for ourselves. We're getting ready to start to manage for team members, probably not the public, but general, just team members. A lot of our team is growing rentals as well. So it's just kind of naturally grown with us.
Okay. Have you had any struggles with staffing your property management company?
Not really, no. Maybe a little bit. We were trying to hire another maintenance coordinator, and it took a little bit of time, but in general, we don't have a ton of struggle. We don't have a ton of struggle hiring. We have a pretty big network here in St. Louis. We have a meetup that we host. It has 250, 300 people come every month. We get to know people through that, and we hire through that. We go against most norms, and we hire our friends and family. Most people say don't mix that, but we do. We're friends. We've been friends for 25 years. So, Lucas's brother-in-law runs our flipping company, our biggest company, with like 20, 22 employees. And then, I have friends that I've known since I was 5 years old that are on the team as well. And then, of course, we have to fill in with who we don't know and what we don't know through Indeed and things like that. But in general, we don't have a ton of problem hiring, because we hire the people we know, and then we have a pretty big community to pick from here in St. Louis that we kind of pick and choose from as needs arise.
Okay, seems like networking is a big piece of the puzzle for you.
Yeah, for all of our businesses, for sure.
Yeah. Talk to me about St. Louis in terms of cap rates, in terms of what type of properties you can get, what type of rents you can get.
Yeah, St. Louis is one of the better landlord markets in the country. It's pretty stable, not huge growth by any means, but not, declines either. It doesn't get the big swings of the Phoenixes and the LAs and the Miamis and the New Yorks, but it gets pretty steady growth. And most people think of St. Louis, they think of, middle of the country, danger kind of thing, but it's St. Louis City is actually very small. And St. Louis County and like the counties around that area, the metro area, is actually growing pretty rapidly. So, it's a good market. The properties are affordable. I think St. Louis has like a 72% home ownership, meaning 28% of people rent, 72% of people own. So the fact that we have rental properties, we have what's in demand. Some people want to rent, some people have to rent. So rental properties are in need as much as, retail properties, and there's just not as many rental properties here. So if we get one, it's in demand. and you can usually, cash flow. Interest rates are a little bit higher, making it a little bit more difficult. But in general, you can, buy a property for 100 grand, put 50 grand into it, it'd be worth 200 grand. It'll rent for 1,500, 1,600 bucks a month. So you can, cash flow 200, 300 bucks a month. That property go up in value a little bit over time. And it's just a solid market to be in. You're not going to get crazy wholesales or flips or crazy cash flow from rentals, but it's pretty solid and steady. In 2008 to 2012, St. Louis dropped like 14 or 15%. So it didn't drop 40, 50% like Phoenix or anything like that. So it's a good steady market to be in if you're in it for the long term.
What's your average house spec? How many bedrooms? How many baths?
I would say probably our average is probably like a 3-2.
Three,
We
two.
have some 2-1s, we have some 3-1s, we have some 4-2s, but in general 3-2. We try to get as plain Jane and as appealing to the most as possible, and that's a 3-2 ranch. But we have a mixture of everything.
Gotcha. What type of cash flow are you getting in for example, on 3-2 on average?
I would say on average, 250 bucks a month, maybe something like that, and that's after, we pay our
Everything.
team, everything. Yep. That's net. Yep.
That's pretty good. That's pretty solid. And these are long-term tenants on a 12-year contract or on a 12-month contract or 24.
12. So we usually do 12. So if they're there for a year and we like them, maybe we'll offer them a 2-year, because the goal is to get them to stay as long as possible. We usually charge about 90% of rent because of market rent, because we want them to stay. In a 10-year period, if we can get 2 or 3 tenants, move out every 3 or 4 years, we're going to cash flow probably double what would be if we were charging market rent and somebody left every year. Because when tenants leave, that's the most expensive part about owning rentals, because you still have your mortgage, you still have your insurance, you still have your taxes and everything you have to pay, but you're not collecting rent, and usually you have repairs. So
Yeah.
we try to keep our tenants as long as possible by charging fair rent, treating them well, communicating with them, and giving them every opportunity to stay there. So the goal is to get them to stay as long as possible. So that's kind of always our goal, is to spend some extra time on the front end approving really high quality tenants that meet the property's needs, and then doing our best to have them stay as long as possible.
And you also get a lot more applications because you're charging 90% of current market rent.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people are like, they see that it's a good deal. It's a freshly rehab or nice house, and they can get a little bit of a deal on it. So they appreciate that. They take care of it. They're more responsive and everything.
That totally makes sense. You talked to me about multifamily. How did you transition from single family to multifamily?
Yeah, so we do both because of our flipping company, but we started to buy multifamily in 2016ish, so not too far, a year and a half after we started investing in single families. We came across a 9-unit smaller apartment complex that we ended up buying, and we did kind of like a pseudo BRRRR method. So we got private lender to put 20% down. We got 80% from the bank, and then we refinanced to pay the private lender back after we increased the value of the property over a 2 or 3 year period. So it's just a longer BRRRR deal. So it's a little bit different financing, but in general, you're borrowing money, on the front end. Then over time, you raise rents, fix up the property, whatever it may be, to increase the net income, and then you can refinance and pull out the equity and pay back your private lender and get them off the deal. So we've done that with a 9-unit, a 12-unit, a 19-unit, a 27-unit, a 29-unit, and a 32-unit. So that mid to smaller size, because those are really nice because they're a little more liquid. And you don't have to have like on-site property management and on-site maintenance and all those things. We can use our current property management and maintenance team as they're out and about. In our single families, they can poke over to apartment complex and take care of a few things. So that's kind of how we scaled that over the past few years.
That's amazing, dude. You just brushed through it, but I just realized that you got into that property with no money out of your pocket. So 20% private money and then 80% the bank. Why don't you like to invest your own money into these deals? What's your reason behind it?
Well, when I started, I didn't have it, but now we want to grow and scale. When I had my full-time job before I quit, I was making good money. But even if I saved, all that saved up, as much money as I could, I'd be able to buy one rental property a year because you're using your own money. So if you buy at discounts and get creative and manage properly and increase equity and value, you can scale much faster using somebody else's money because it's only in the deal for a short period of time. It's how wealth is created. As I mentioned earlier, Zuckerberg didn't start Facebook with his own money. He borrowed money to start it, and he's very willing to give up money and equity in the business to get cash influx. Bezos didn't start Amazon with his own cash. He borrowed money to do it. Musk borrowed money to buy Twitter. So it's that next level of always borrowing money. Apple has 200 billion in cash, but they have over 100 billion in loans, meaning they could pay off their loans twice, but they don't because they understand the power of having your own cash and having it available if need be, as well as being able to scale and pay a small percentage. If you're able to borrow at 8%, but you can get a 30-40% return because you're in the good industry or you're really good at what you do, why the hell wouldn't you do that? So that's a part of the reason why I think now that we're getting some decent income and we may start to leave our money in a deal or be LP partners on some things like that. But in general, it's kind of the calling card is to borrow money. I mean, I own $46 million worth of real estate and I haven't used a dime of my own money to do it. If I did, I'd own not near that. So it's kind of one of those things. If my goal is $1 billion in real estate, I'm not gonna be able to do it using my own money.
Right. That's so smart. The velocity of money, the velocity if you can just deploy more money into other deals without using your own. That's amazing, dude. What double cap rates are you getting in those multifamily properties?
Oh, I mean, it's like anywhere else, there's a overall cap for St. Louis, but then it's segmented out. I would say most of St. Louis is probably up in that, maybe 7 to 8. But we have, one of our apartment complexes in a really nice area is probably more like a 5.5 cap. And then we got our worst property, which isn't that bad. It's probably like in an 8.5 cap area. So, cap rates, as kind of fluctuate with interest rates a little bit and with whatever the condition of that area is, so that they slightly move. But I would say St. Louis is maybe overall a 7.5, something like that.
Yeah. Have you bought, and I'm sure you have, what experiences you have with multifamily value add properties?
Most of the multifamilies we have bought, we have I guess I'd say I guess it's about half and half. About half of them we've bought under rented in need of repair, and we've borrowed extra money from a private lender to repair the properties as tenants move out and as we have to evict if they're not paying, if the property's in that bad of condition. So we've done a few value adds through improving the properties and then raising up to market rent or close to it. And then the last few we've done are just really high quality A-class assets that just are under rented. So we've been able to increase rent, get efficient with expenses because we have our own in-house property management team. We utilize technology. We take better care of our tenants for less money on the monthly expense book. So we're able to cut the bottom end and cut the bottom line and raise the top line a little bit. And every dollar that you increase in the net income adds a lot of value to that multifamily property, obviously via the cap rate. So we're able to add hundreds of thousands of dollars in value over a short period of time by doing those two things. Charge or raising all our 32 unit apartment complex, raising each apartment $50 to $75 over a year and a half period will literally add hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. So if you can do the scale of money and do it in volume through the cap rate and through multifamilies, you can add a ton of value quick and force that appreciation and force that wealth.
Right. What do you think are the biggest difference between underwriting a Class A property and maybe a Class C property, and the one that you have to value add? How do you generate a business plans for both of them?
Yeah, so one of them is just going to be like not the best returns. Class A property, you're going to get a 5 to 6 cap along those lines. So it's not going to be as appealing. You're not, it's like, leasing to a Walgreens, you're not going to make a lot of money, but they're going to pay every month and they're going to be right there and, having like commercial type tenants. So, which we have a few of those. So it's just less cash flow, but safer cash flow. That's why we like to have a little bit of a mix. And with a little bit of that B and C class properties, which for those that don't know, just a little bit rougher. We don't do war zones or anything like that, but just a little more working class, maybe not quite as quality of an area. And, you're just going to get a little more cash flow for that quote unquote risk. So it's just like anything else. It's, you just got to weigh the pros and cons of, you're willing to have a little more cash flow for maybe a little more headache, or do you want just the monthly mailbox money coming in every month and you don't even have to deal with tenants really. So we like to have a little bit of mixture of both.
That's an amazing way to explain it. Just what would you like? Higher risk, higher return. For social media, you're able to grow fairly quickly, and you're growing fast and steady on social media at the same time that you're doing real estate. How do you achieve that? What do you think is the key to succeeding doing that?
A couple of things. I think for me personally, it's having multiple streams of income. I started the education company, which, first started on social media, then turned into an education company in like mid 2020, kind of after COVID, that summer after COVID. So so it's been right out almost exactly 3 years. And I have been able to spend and dedicate a lot of my time every single week for the past 3 years to creating content, learning the algorithms, learning what works, what doesn't work, and putting out quality, tactical, educational content, because I have other businesses that are able to support me. Because the first probably 18 months of the education business, we didn't really make any money. We were broke even, or were able to hire an employee or two, but it was a very not profitable company. But during that time, I had my rentals and my flipping company and the right business partner that was running those companies, so I could focus my time over here. And again, that being okay with that gratification down the line, and not immediately wanting to, start a business and make, $500,000 the first year. The first year, I think we made 40 grand. The second year, I think we made 180 grand. And then, that third year, we were able to get well into the seven figures because, we had built a foundation the right way and didn't cut corners, and just had that slow growth that snowballs eventually when you're giving out free, quality, actionable content. Enough people and you get enough eyeballs, there's going to be a percentage, albeit a small percentage, that are going to say, I would like to pay you to teach me on a one-on-one basis and a mentorship basis. I'd like to get involved with your community. I'd like to have you and your coaches teach me exactly what to do and how to do it. And, 1% of people are willing to pay. 1% of 2 million is still a good number. So you just got to have that long-term vision.
That's amazing, dude. What are you currently struggling with at your stage in the real estate world?
I mean, yeah, so just the market had a pretty big shift. Everybody I know that was in the education space, as well in the real estate education space, as well as in the real estate investing space, all kind of got their kicked in the groin, for lack of a better words. Q4 and Q1, Q4 last year, Q1 of this year, just the market shifted and things kind of contracted, and a lot of people got out of the game, or contracted, or had to lay people off. So I'm just navigating those waters with, a 45, 46 employee companies, makes it a little bit more difficult. We made a commitment to not have to lay anybody off because of, the market conditions. So we've had some skinny months here and there, but we've had multiple streams that has allowed us to kind of float through. So just navigating the waters with a bigger team is a little bit difficult. Trying to keep the culture top notch, like we've been able to. It's pretty good to have a really good, fun, competitive, giving, abundance culture with 6 employees. But when you have 46, it gets a little bit difficult. You have multiple personalities, people butting heads, people that you like disagreeing, that you have to make them just work together because that's life, and things like that as we're growing and scaling. And our biggest downfall, our biggest issue so far has kind of been our accounting. We're just like, that's a good deal, let's buy it. Let's buy that 32 unit, let's buy that hotel, let's buy those 42 pack of houses, let's do all this, and then we'll figure it out later. So we do that, and then picking up the books and being able to have accurate books for taxes, for all those kind of things, has been difficult for us. So growing an accounting department and keeping track of the finances has been a struggle. I think we're finally there, but the past 6-8 months has been trouble, has been a little bit of struggle getting, how much are we cash flowing really per door? Do we really know? All those kind of things. So we know we are, and we know the bank account's getting bigger, but are there certain properties that we're losing money? Probably, but we don't know that. So, and we're okay with that because we got right. We own however many million now. So it's more of a long-term game and a portfolio valuation as opposed to single properties. But that's in general just growing pains with employees and people and culture and personalities and keeping track of it all properly.
One of the biggest things, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that real estate is not a business. And
well, those are people that aren't in it. You're right.
Right.
Those are
And
people
especially at your scale, you're managing a business. It's hard to know how much money you have in the banking, how much money you're actually cash flowing in properties when you have more than 100 properties. It's not an
Yeah.
easy system to put in place.
Yeah. I don't even know how many rentals I have. 280 to 290 somewhere in there. So yeah, you kind of lose track after a while. And
Right.
when you have the right systems in place, I haven't been to a rental meeting in 15 months where there's a weekly meeting with our property management company talking about acquisitions that we're houses we're buying. And I just haven't had to be involved in that. So I don't know the day-to-day that goes on and all that. I haven't been inside my last 50 houses that I own. But I do get involved in like bigger package deals or apartments. I'll kind of come in and help negotiate and do all that. So I just insert myself as needed as opposed to being needed all the time, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's amazing right there, because I feel like the biggest struggle for self-employed people and people in general that are growing a business is how do you fire yourself
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, when
how.
you find somebody that can do it better than you can, I mean, now almost everybody we hire can do that specific need better than I can. I'm not good at running books. I'm thought I was a good house buyer. I am, but we have guys on the team that are better, buyers and acquisition reps than I was when I got started. So I'm just trusting other people and seeing the bigger picture. And we don't probably cash flow $250 per door because we own a 25,000 square foot commercial building that I'm in right now that our team is involved in. We pay rent that not every, people that buy rentals has to pay. We have a CPA that does all of our books that we have to pay. We have staff we have to pay. We pay somebody $100,000 to manage our rental portfolio and keep that completely passive for us. So we're just buying time and taking, maybe less per cash flow per door to create bigger things, to do bigger things, to become a $1 billion organization. You can't do that by trying to pinch pennies and micromanage everybody's little move. Let people make mistakes, pay them, and then just look at the bigger picture and spend your time on growing a brand and revenue generating activities that will clean up all of that and just kind of will start to grow and scale as you do it, is what we've seen so far in our obviously overall very relatively small company, less than 50 employees, but
Yeah.
there's a million companies with way more. So we're still learning as we go, but it's just one of those things, is kind of the stages of a business.
Yeah, that's super interesting that you mentioned that, because I would like to ask you now, what are your high paying activities or priorities now that you have systems in place to not do the tedious task? Why are you prioritizing now?
Yeah, so still my priority right now is still growing the brand. I don't think there's a better use of my time than growing a strong brand with the right following.
I agree.
We have a ton of followers, but all I pretty much talk about is social media. Now I'm trying to get out of that a little bit and grow a brand outside of social of real estate. But all we really talk about on social media is real estate. So a very, very vast majority of my followers are real estate focused, which is great when you talk real estate and have a real estate product. But growing that brand and getting outside of that and becoming, like an actual like entity brand itself is a huge focus of mine. So we can, I'd like to, come up with, I know, Hugh, way bigger brand times a million, but Logan Paul came out that Prime energy drink and things like that. Like you can do so many things. What Ryan Reynolds has done with his Mint
Yeah,
Mobile and those kind
insane.
of things, he does it with that brand. So, his brand is my brand times 800,050, like his, like, but still if I can get to a certain point where I can do things like that, that makes all this time of me still being very involved in the tedious day-to-day things in social media, it will be worth it, because I do probably more than I should, but I struggle with letting somebody else come up with the idea, letting somebody else write the script, letting somebody else edit. And like, I literally just read off a teleprompter. It's not me. So I struggle with giving that up. I need to get to the next level, but I just need to train people a little bit better to think how I think and do how I think, because I'm so very involved in that process. And I honestly think it's worth my time. And it's why I've been able to continually grow. You mentioned earlier, steadily growing. A lot of people are them. They do everything and it's their personality. They get to a certain point, whether it's good or bad, or they think they're a big dog,
They
whatever it
stop.
is, they hire everything out and they stop, or they hire everything out, and their feel, the authenticity, the content, the everything just is different than a million or 1.5 million or 800,000 people have grown over the past 2 years to be attracted to, it changes, and that turns people off and they wonder why they don't grow anymore. So I'm very cognizant of that, and I'm working right now to figure out a way to keep it authentic, keep it me, but be able to scale and do a little bit more.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Let's go now with a little bit of rapid questions, just so I get a better understanding of the way that you think. So,
That's
Instagram
a
or
scary thought.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Wow. Okay. LinkedIn
Can I
or TikTok?
explain, or is this rapid fire, or do we
No,
actually
no,
want to
you're doing just fine. I just want to see what you think about this. LinkedIn or TikTok?
TikTok?
Okay. Single family, multifamily?
Both. No, I'll say multifamily, but it pains me to say it. It's like 51-49. It's almost 50-50.
Okay, gotcha. And then cap rate or net operating income?
Net operating income.
Net operating income. Okay. Acquisitions or sales?
Acquisitions.
Why? Explain that one to me.
It's really fun to figure out, underwrite a deal, negotiate it, figure out what the pain points of the seller are, try to meet those pain points and offer solutions. And it's rewarding when you can, acquire a single family rental property, get somebody out of a really bad place or hole that they're in, them crying at the closing table because they're so happy, and then go ahead and turn that into profit or turn that into a home for somebody else to live in or rent. It's rewarding as well as needed.
Wholesaling or flipping?
Wholesaling is just so much more scalable and so much less risk involved. But we do flipping too, but 80% wholesaling. So that kind of tells you there.
Creative finance or conventional route?
Creative for sure. I kind of mix creative and conventional, but if I have to pick one, I'll go creative.
Private money or hard money?
Easiest one you have asked or will ever ask. Private money all day, every day.
Why?
Because they're so flexible. A hard money lender would never give me 20% down on an apartment complex and hold it for 3 years. They have rules and hoops and regulations, and they want their money, and they're more expensive, and you have to pay monthly. Private lenders, it's a relationship. Then it's somebody with a little extra money. You make the rules, you make the returns, you make the timetable, you can do everything. And the interest rates are less.
That's amazing, man. Well, that's all I got for you. But what's the best way to reach out to you to kind of like get engaged with what you're doing, what you're putting out? If somebody wants to know what processes took you to where you're at right now, how can we follow you and discover those?
Remember, you asked it earlier, Instagram. No, so Instagram's the one I want to grow as much as any other one. So at Sam Faster Freedom on Instagram. It just provides a way for me to interact via DMs like no other platform. It allows me to do stories and pitch or sell something and give somebody a sneak peek of my life personally via stories. And then obviously it has reels and picture and video content. So Instagram is the best way to reach me. I'm on whatever social media platform you're on. Most people have 2 or 3 that their favorite. Follow me on that, whichever one it is. I'm probably on there. So don't go follow me on Twitter if you're never on Twitter. That does me no good. So just follow me wherever you're at. I'm on there, and then reach out to me on Instagram on DMs. As I said earlier, I am still the one that answers all those. So I will get to them within a day or 2 maximum. I spend I try to carve out about half an hour a day to go through all those. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. And then throughout that, you'll hear about my book that again is either is out or will be out shortly after this comes out. You'll be able to hear about my podcast on there, the Faster Freedom Show. So just get involved in my sphere of influence on social media, and you will get whatever you need in some way, shape, or form.
Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate the knowledge that you have poured into it. I know that you think that it's just I feel like you think that your life is very conventional, that you just took the normal route, but the normal route is hard. That's the reason why not everybody does it.
For sure. I appreciate having me on. It was fun.
Yeah. It was so much fun to have you here on the podcast. If you guys made it this far on the video, subscribe, hit the like button. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, Sam.